Hey everybody, this is David Hill with Solve Fix Build. I'm going to give you a review of the MaxJax Tilt after I've been using it for about a year. The MaxJax Tilt is similar to the AutoLift 3000, which was claimed to have been invented in 1998. People have asked me a few questions about this lift, so it seemed like a good time for me to post an update review. The MaxJax Tilt is a very affordable lift. I found it on ASEdeals.com, and I think I got it for just under $800. At the time, it fluctuated between $750 and $1,000, depending on where you could find it. Here you can see I found it on Jags just recently for $9.99, and it has a 1-star review, and that reviewer is claiming that they think that Danmar went under. I don't think Danmar's gone under, but I can say I'm not sure if there's much support for this product. This product might have been discontinued. I mentioned in my first review that this lift wasn't supposed to work with body-on-frame cars. I solved that problem by using a large rectangular steel tube, a big bar that I had in my scrap pile, and I placed that tube across the lifting pads, and I'm able to lift my 1961 Impala with that. The MaxJax Tilt has a reported weight rating of 6,600 pounds, meaning that that's its maximum lift weight. My 1961 Impala has a reported weight of about 3,400 pounds when it was new from the factory, so I expected this lift to be able to handle it. It has done that, but not without some issues. So I'm going to go through some pros and cons with you, and I'm going to start with the cons first. You already saw my other review of the lift, which I will post here. And at the time, I just unboxed it, and as is common with fresh unboxings, people are usually happy and excited to have a new product, and so they give it a glowing review because they say, oh, it's great, it does all these good things for me, and that's kind of what I did, right? But now I've been using it for a year, and so I can tell you what I found wrong with it, as well as what I think is good about it. So here are some of the cons of using this lift. You can see I've tried a number of different power tools to make this lift work. One of the cons, I think, of this lift is that it requires an external power source. It doesn't have a built-in power source to make it lift. You are supposed to use a drill. The drill needs to have a 1/2-inch collet. So I've tried a number of different power tools for this. The MaxJax Tilt is supposed to be powered by an electric drill, but I burned out my first DeWalt on this lift. Over time, I found that it's starting to bind, and I'm not sure where it's binding. I'm not sure if it just needs new lubrication or what, but it makes it harder and harder to lift the car, particularly on the lifting cycle. It can still go down relatively easy because, of course, it's got the weight of the car to help push it down, but lifting back up makes it hard because it binds. Sometimes the only way I can get it to rise is with an impact wrench, and you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to use an impact wrench. And I have, so shame on me. And that's only because I had to get the car up and I had no other way of doing it. And so, I resorted to my most powerful tool, which is an impact wrench. On the other hand, I've used an air drill, an electric drill, and an impact wrench on this lift. I bought the air drill after I burned out my electric drill. And actually, it worked great for a while until the lift started binding. So I'm not sure what's going on in the lift. Maybe it just needs new lubrication. I'm not sure. If you're finding this video helpful at the moment, it greatly helps my channel if you go ahead and hit the like button. And now let's get on with the pros. So here's some of the pros. Once up on the lift, the car is very easy to manage, provided that you've placed the fulcrum of the lift under the center mass of the car. Fulcrum! So you have to spend some time finding where that is. Button your legs. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Look, he's Clark Kent. Oh my gosh. The clearance underneath is fairly substantial, and with one end all the way down and the other all the way up, you can sit comfortably on a mechanic's dolly seat, which I did when I was putting the gas tank in the Impala, which was greatly helpful to me. It's very stable, so I like those features of it. I think it's been very useful. It's been a nice, cheap interim solution for me until I do eventually get a better lift. I would like to get a 2-post lift. But here I'll go through a few competing products if you're shopping for a lift and you're considering this one. First is the Ranger Quickjack, which I think is a lift that a lot of gearheads look at because it's so affordable, it's portable, it's not going to take up a lot of space in your garage, and it gives you a pretty substantial amount of clearance under the car. The pro of the Quickjack is because it's portable and self-powered and it costs less than $1,500, it's something that you can take out to lift your car, do some work on it, and then put it away. The con, though, is that it doesn't lift very high. It's a little less than 2 feet, I believe. It's perfectly suited for brake and suspension work or putting new tires on your race car when you go to the track, but it would be less than ideal for, say, doing a transmission swap. You'd have a lot more clearance under there than if you were doing it with jack stand. I am somebody that has done a transmission swap while under a car on jack stands, and that's horrible. And I think the Quickjack would greatly help for doing that job, but you still are going to be on your back on a dolly under the car. The biggest model, the strongest model for the Quickjack can support 7,000 pounds, and it's powered by a 110 volt outlet, which is great, so you don't have to wire in anything special in your garage. Now, MaxJax also makes a portable 2-post lift, which I think they are now calling the M6. It's an affordable lift. What's interesting about it is that it's a 2-post lift, but it can also be unbolted and wheeled away, so it is portable, which is an interesting feature. It only lifts about 4 feet, but that's pretty good for most garages and most jobs that you would want to do. You can sit underneath it on a rolling creeper seat and still get plenty of access from underneath. Some of the reviews that I've seen have said that it is powered by a single hydraulic unit, but there's 2 separate lines that run to either side. And if those lines leak at all, you can have varying pressure on either side, and therefore it doesn't quite raise evenly. So there's only one review I saw that talked about that, but I thought, that's an interesting concern. At $2,400, it's affordable, but it's not that cheap. It's certainly not as cheap as the Tilt, but there are other 2-post options that are cheaper. There are a lot of companies making lifts. Atlas, for example, has very affordable 2-post lifts that can operate on 110 volts or 220 volts, and it can also clear ceilings in 10-foot garages, like mine. Here's one for under $2,000 from Atlas. There are, of course, lots of options out there, and there are options like this $16,000 lift that can be rolled around on wheels and can lift a car in a very unique catapult motion. Something like that would be ideal for my garage due to its versatility and portability. But I can't afford that, and I'm sure a lot of you can't either, or some of you don't really want to spend your money on something like that. I have been looking at BendPak lifts very closely. There are a lot of options from BendPak. It's a well-regarded brand. They're very attractive for the home garage. They aren't the cheapest, but with prices between $3,000 and $3,800, you can get either a 2-post lift or a 4-post lift that fits in a garage with a 9 to 10-foot ceiling. There are also multiple accessories for these lifts. For a 4-post lift, you can store a car on it, and you can also make it into a lift that you can use to work on a car, because there are caster wheels that help it move around and make it more portable, and then there are lifting trays where you can put bottle jacks in it and lift the car off the lift itself. So that's an interesting feature of the 4-post lift. About a year ago, I got a quote from Mohawk. Mohawk has a 2-post lift that is very strong, and it has one of the most unique features I've seen on any 2-post lift, which are these cradles that go underneath the wheels of the car, and it can actually lift the car, and you can store the car on the 2-post lift on these cradles, much like you would do with the 4-post lift. The advantage being you only have 2 posts instead of 4, so you're taking up less space. However, they gave me a quote for $12,000 with the wheel adapters, and that was before installation. It would probably be another $1,500 to have somebody install it. The lift was very heavy, so you definitely would need somebody to help you install it. One of the other advantages of having a lift like that, if you can store it with the wheels in the cradles, means that you're not leaving the suspension unloaded and hanging. And I have concerns about that sometimes. Overall, with the MaxJax Tilt, you're spending $1,000, and for under $2,000, you can find other lifts that lift the car higher that are possibly more reliable. Am I happy with this lift? Yes, I am. It's allowed me to get more done with this car without so much straining and struggling on the floor. It's the rolling around on the floor that, as I get older, I just don't want to mess with anymore. And so having a lift like this has greatly helped with that. The thing with this binding issue is really bothering me because it's only a year old. I wouldn't expect to be having a problem like that with a product of this age. I think the fact that it has to use a drill is its greatest weakness. The Tubes, as they extend, they do have grease on them, and if it is a grease and lubrication issue, then that's a major weakness in the design, because that's exposed as it comes out, as the lift relaxes and lowers the vehicle, and it sits there exposed. So like in my shop where I do woodworking as well, sawdust is going to get on that. It's going to contaminate the grease, and there's plenty of environments where that's going to be a risk. And so if it's going to bind up that easily because of lubrication, which I'm not sure yet, but I suspect that's what the problem is, then that's an issue. If you could save up $1,000 for this lift, go ahead and wait a little longer and save up another $500 to $1,000, and you're going to have a lot more options available to you, including an Atlas 2-post lift. So I would suggest just saving your money, wait a little longer, and get something else. If you have to have something right now, this is a decent option for you if you can find it. This is Davian Hill with Solve Fix Build. If you like this video and others like it, please feel free to hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.